Thank you very much, Christy. Good evening, everyone. As is the case every year, it's an honor for me and my colleagues at Fasken to be here for this very special occasion. Each year, we look forward to hearing from a renowned Canadian thought leader, and the Gala Cabinet Committee continues to attract and bring out dynamic and inspiring speakers. This year is no exception, and it's one of the many reasons that our team at Fasken continues to partner with JABC and the Hall of Fame. The Hall of Fame plays an important role in recognizing those who have built our province and paved the way for the opportunity and prosperity we enjoy today. By supporting the Hall of Fame, we also support the mandate of JABC to provide access to life-changing programs for BC's youth and to help create the leaders of tomorrow. As British Columbia's largest business law and dispute resolution firm, and as a strong supporter of the business community, Fasken is proud to have been involved with this prestigious event since its inception in 2005. It's now my pleasure to introduce our guest speaker for the evening. Since his election in 1984 as chief of the Osoyoos Indian Band, Clarence Joseph Louie has consistently emphasized economic development as a means to improve his people's standard of living. Under his direction for the past 30 years, the Osoyoos Indian Band has become a multifaceted corporation that owns multiple businesses and participates in a variety of joint ventures. The band, in fact, employs 1,000 people. In addition to sustainable business development, the band has modeled socioeconomic development under Chief Louie's leadership. From the negotiated settlements of 3 land claims, the initiation of the Osoyoos Indian Taxation Bylaw, the financing of a new preschool, daycare, school, and gymnasium, construction of a new health center and social services building, and a first-class youth center, it is no wonder that Chief Louie is regularly invited to share his experience across Canada and around the world. His accomplishments have been recognized by, among other honors, induction into the Canadian Business Hall of Fame and both the Order of British Columbia and the Order of Canada. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Chief Clarence Louie.
Thank you, Will. I heard Peter Brown's in the room. Awesome, awesome. Limlimt in Okanagan, Peter. Good to see you. I want to recognize that we're on the Musqueam, Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish First Nation territory. I was at 2 of those reserves this morning. It's great to be here. I love hanging around business people. I've been chief now for over 32 years now. Sucks getting old. When I first met Peter, I was really surprised that he had a book on leadership. And the kids here, the students were talking about leadership. And that's one of the pillars of the BC Business Hall of Fame. And I love that topic, leadership. We need more leadership in this province. We need more leadership amongst the chief and councils. I'm going to run over quickly some of the things that are happening in Indian country in the province of BC. BC has more First Nations than any province or state, 203. More Indian reserves. There's over 1,500 Indian reserves in this province. So no matter where you live in this province, as we say on the res, there's a res close by. Remember that. And I'm the only chief in this country that says I like doing 2 basic things. I've been through 18 elections and won 17 of them. That's a pretty good percentage. The 2 things I love doing are what all of you love doing as business people. The first thing I love doing is creating jobs, because I firmly believe every person needs the dignity of a job. Every student needs to apply their knowledge to something to make BC and to make Canada better. And the other thing I love doing, like you all love doing in this, although some of you don't admit it, I love making money. Because my mom and my grandma taught me many years ago, everything costs money. From cradle to grave, everything costs money. Everything you say you care about costs money. Spirituality costs money. Education costs money. Health costs money. Everything costs money. So those are the two things that I spend my time doing. It's always been my platform. One sentence. If I'm elected, I'll create more jobs and make more money for the Sioux Indian Band than anybody else. And after 32 years, our little small claim to fame in this country, our 540 members in Osuyus. The Sioux Indian Band owns more band-owned businesses on a per capita basis than any First Nation in Canada or the United States. And I love hanging around business people. Not far from here is the Musqueam First Nation. They own golf courses, marinas, residential developments. They create over 2,000 jobs and inject over $100 million into this economy here. Tsleil-Waututh First Nation, again, residential development. They're partners with the Aquilinis. They signed a multi-million-dollar agreement with C-SPAN to build ships for the federal government. Squamish, Park Royal Shopping Center, they operate marinas, residential development, and office towers. Over 1,500 jobs and over $75 million a year into the economy here. The Tsawwassen First Nation settled their modern-day treaty 10 years ago and have developed one of the biggest malls in the entire province. Huge residential developments, industrial parks, over 3,000 jobs and lease revenues of over $350 million. That's 4 bands in this region. And I heard their name, Kinder Morgan, brought up today. First Nations have the ability to either allow projects to happen or they have the ability to stop projects. Because many, many decades ago, court cases all the way up to the highest court case in this land, have proven that Aboriginal title and rights exist in the country called Canada. The First Nations people were the first business people in this province. Archaeological evidence has proven that. Not far from Osuyus, a few years ago, an ancestral grave was dug up by BC Parks. We stopped that digging, and we told BC Parks, we're not moving our ancestor. What was found in that grave was items that didn't come from BC. They came from the states, many states to the south of here. That proves that we were tradespeople. And that's what business is when you get down to the simplest of it. It's about trade. And the original treaty relationship in this country was based on trade. At that time, it was the fur trade. So as Okanagan people, where I come from, we have items that come from the southern states. We have items that come from the coast because we had trade routes which later turned into provincial highways. And when the French and the English came to our territory, it was based on trade. That's what I remind First Nations in the business community. We have to get back to that original relationship. And that's a business relationship. Reconciliation to me doesn't mean you fly our flags at your municipal halls. Doesn't mean you allow us to come in and drum and sing at your events. That's not reconciliation. And neither is saying I'm sorry. To me, reconciliation starts with us getting back to that business relationship. That the natives in this province have the same standard of living as the nearest town or city. That the reserves in this province, we have the same unemployment rates as the nearest town or city. That's reconciliation to me. And also it has to start with the land. Land claims are not nothing that natives just pull out of the air. It wasn't that many years ago there was a federal law that we couldn't hire lawyers to sue the federal government for all the past injustices, all the broken treaties, and all the land claim ripoffs. Now, today, court case after court case, we're proven that we have rights, taxation rights, hunting rights, fishing rights. In all the major banks, in all the major natural resource companies, they didn't have this a few decades ago, but they now have an Aboriginal strategy. Because as I mentioned, the handful of bands that I mentioned here on the coast, and I also have to mention a few bands in the interior. The Kamloops Indian Band has one of the biggest industrial parks in BC. They have over 3,000 land leases. They create thousands of jobs and inject hundreds of millions of dollars into the economy there. The West Bank First Nation, again, hundreds and hundreds of land leases. You can find everything on the West Bank res. Home Depots, every little franchise store you can think of, even Walmart's, which we call on the res the Indian store. You go to Walmart, you'll always see First Nations people there. That's where we congregate and we visit. In the Osuyus Indian Band, we have a golf course. Many of you have told me you stay at Spirit Ridge. You've stayed at Spirit Ridge, which is now part of the Hyatt chain. We have construction company. We have forestry companies, construction companies, gas stations and stores. And the other neat project that we allowed a few years ago was Canada's #1 racetrack. Jacques Villeneuve designed it. So if any of you own a Hut car, come to Area 27. It's completely sold out. All the major car companies have memberships there. And it's one of the attractions in the South Okanagan now. In small town Osuyus and Oliver, we never saw cars worth $1 million drive through Osuyus. Now they come there on a regular basis because of Area 27 racetrack. And we partnered up with Canada's biggest winery a couple of years ago and created Inkameep Cellars, which 2 years ago won Canada's Best Winery of the Year. So we've proven as Native people we can be good business people. We can provide jobs and become part of the economy of this province. That's what we want to do. That's what I want to see First Nations accomplish here. And I hope some of you will come back, bring your families to Osuyus, and go to Squamish, go to Musqueam, go to Tsleil-Waututh. First Nations people were the first entrepreneurs of this land. And we want to continue that tradition of being self-supporting. And I'm very proud of my relationships that I've built. The best relationships in my life come from 2 areas: sports. I used to play hockey. I used to play fastball. I don't play sports anymore. Now I love riding motorcycles. And I'll be heading down to the Navajo Res next week, catching a flight to Albuquerque and renting a Harley and joining up with Hopi Navajo honor riders on a 4-day ride through the biggest res in North America. Covers 4 states. That's what I love doing. So if there's any bikers in the crowd here, let's go for a ride someday. I own 2 Harleys and an Indian. That's what I love doing now. And I keep on reminding non-Native people to drink more Inkameep wine. That's how we're going to get some of our land back. You brought us whiskey. We're bringing you first-class wine. I had to look over there to see how much time I got left. You can't give a chief 15 minutes. Come on. But I'm very proud to be here tonight. I want to thank Tim Manning, who's part of the BC Business Hall of Fame, for asking me to come and speak to this crowd. I said I love hanging around business people. I don't go to Indian political meetings. I don't go to Union of BC Chiefs meetings or Assembly of First Nation meetings. I love hanging around the business crowd. That's what I do. And so Osuyus Indian Band is open for business. We have more lease opportunities. We have more industrial land we're looking to lease out. I hope some of you have some connections you can pass on to me. And again, I love seeing the junior achievers up here. I would like to see that program, the Junior Achievement Program, on every reserve in this province. And I know the Osuyus Indian Band, we want to be part of the Junior Achievement Program. Barbara Brink, thank you for all the emails and phone calls to getting me here. I can always tell an organization behind the scenes who does the heavy lifting. As a business person, I can't stand people that don't work weekends or evenings. Those easy political hours, I call them kindergarten hours. That's not for business people. So Barbara and Rosie, Rosine, who took my calls, took my emails. I know sometimes I'm high maintenance. I don't even know when my flight is, the day I'm flying out. Thank you for taking my call. As I mentioned, every organization needs hard workers behind the scenes, and those two ladies are hard workers. So thank you to the BC Business Hall of Fame. Thank you to the 4 inductees. Congratulations. You've shown leadership in everything that business is the heartbeat of any community. Business is the heartbeat of any province or state. So limlimt in my language, which means thank you. White hust call halt in Okanagan language, which means it's a good day today, my relatives. And I look at business people as my relatives. That's the relationship we have to get back to. So limlimt, I hope some of you come to the Okanagan. If you ever come to Spirit Ridge or come to our golf course or Area 27, give me a call. I always answer, I don't answer my emails because I get too many of them, but I will answer texts or phone calls. So limlimt, I look forward to meeting you. Some of you, it's great to see you, Peter. And I know I'm bringing a group of youth, 16 youth and elders to Toronto in a couple of weeks to be the first First Nation, the first chief ever inducted into the Canadian Business Hall of Fame. So limlimt, thank you.